All right, it's August 12th, 2020. I already know what it is. It is the Backstage Brawl, and you already know who it is. It's your boy, the Golden Child, alongside our esteemed panelists. We got back at it again, the People's Champ, Randy Lewis. We got the Diamond Cutter, Eric Brunson. We got Mean Gene Payne, and we also got Kid Dynamite, Tyler Hicks, over here. We about to give you some wrestling news. Not necessarily the week, guys, because SummerSlam's almost here. A lot of things is going on. We thought it was an opportune time to actually do a halftime award ceremony for everyone, essentially. You know, who's the king, who basically dominated the ring, the storylines of the year that basically captivated our imaginations, the botches of the year that unfortunately we've had to bear the brunt of and have the litany of discussions for. And so we definitely broke it up into different brackets. We have Breakout Star of the Year. We have Comeback Star of the Year, Storyline, Queen, Botch of the Year, and ultimately we're going to end off with King of the Ring. And I want to kick it off with Breakout Star of the Year, especially considering the fact that we've had a lot of them, especially knowing the remnants of it coming in last year from AEW, not necessarily knowing about the independent wrestlers coming out today, and now they're prominent out the forefront, whether it be TNT, whether it be USA, or whichever channel that you do get your providing. So getting at the candidates, we got Hangman Page, Angel Garza, Darby Allin, Karrion Kross. Influence from between NXT, AEW, and WWE in general. Guys, who is your Breakout Star of the Year?
In that case, I'm going to go with Angel Garza. I think Angel Garza, he's had the most charisma. Clearly, he's the standout star out when they had their fake little faction with everybody. I think he's the only standout star. Him and Andrade, the two standout stars. I'm going to go with Angel.
Consistent as well because, like, you know, they've had the iterations of the group. And Austin Theory, of course, like, we know that best left unsaid, especially with a lot of things that has been going on with the, the scandals in the WWE and all of wrestling, especially in the Europe area. So definitely Angel Garza has been the constant. Shout out to Garza. Shout out for his, his love life off the screen and on the screen. Shout out to Charlie Caruso. So that's a name of the ballot for you. Kid Ty, man, what say you? What's your Breakout Star of the Year? Page, Garza, Allen, MJF, Karrion Kross.
So we're covering January to
August. So right now, basically.
It's about right now.
Yeah.
About now. It's weird because like the list isn't a bad list at all. There's a person that I kind of wish was on the list. I kind of wish Apollo was on this list, just if we're counting up to now. That would be my go-to if he were on the list. I guess he's an honorable mention because a lot of his stuff kind of picked up steam more recently than like throughout. So I probably would go with Angel Garza as well. I kind of feel like Hangman Page has kind of been in a situation where he's stuck doing stuff that he probably shouldn't be doing. Like these are kind of the things that he should be doing maybe after, being in the main event picture for a while, Karrion Kross, to me, he's definitely on the rise, but for me to call him the breakout star, I feel like I'd be riding a train of momentum that like just got started. He just started getting his groove and stuff. So I don't want to do that. But I really do feel like Angel Garza from a character standpoint has been amazing when he's been allowed to be amazing. He makes the most out of every opportunity he's given, whether it's like filler or not. He does a very good job of being funny, being suave, being smooth. His in-ring work is impeccable. I believe, didn't he win the Cruiserweight Championship this year?
He did.
Yeah. He did.
Yes. So
yep.
He's been successful on every front that he's been allowed to be successful in, even when he's like in fear of Randy Orton beating his ass on television.
That was so good.
That was
like those moments. Whether you're the guy looking dominant or the guy selling somebody else's dominant, being the overall like complete worker goes a long way no matter what role you're like, what side of the fence you're on. I think that Angel Garza's done that to a T. I feel like everybody else is kind of waiting to get their moment to really break out. And it's more so a matter of, they're doing things, but maybe not what they should be doing, or they're not where they're supposed to be. No offense to anybody on the list. I think out of the crop, it would be Angel Garza. My other pick would obviously be Apollo Crews. So that's what I'm going with.
Strong contention on Angel Garza. Seems like he's almost already running away with it. Mean Gene, Hangman, Garza, Allen, MJF, Karen Cross. What say you, brother?
He's about to run with it again because I'm going with Angel Garza too, man. That's my guy. I love that guy. I love that guy so much. Like, this guy is like so perfect for what the Raw brand needed. I'm very thankful because I know this was Paul Heyman who brought him up. Paul Heyman has my eternal thanks for bringing this boy up, because this guy, he just gets it. He just gets it. And one point that I know Big E and Ty didn't mention is the fact that if you guys have been noticing, when Angel Garza and Andrade be having these tag matches, or even when they have singles matches, Andrade is the one that be taking those L's more oftentimes than Garza does. So that's showing me that strong confidence the company feels in this guy. And I know Vince sees him as like a young Eddie Guerrero. I think we've seen Eddie vibes with this guy. And I think that he could just, over time, he's just going to make this thing his own. And we just want nothing but the best for this guy. But right now we're going with Breakout Star, Angel Garza, the ladies' man.
Yeah,
Eddie 2000 vibes.
That's a fact. Ren, it's almost a formality at this point, but you're up next. What say you, brother?
2020 belongs to Angel Garza, and look, ever since NXT and when you became the Cruiserweight champion, there was something that you saw in him when you first laid your eyes on the Angel Garza that you knew if you put the spotlight on him, you knew at some point in time he was going to excel and basically break through that glass ceiling, shattering any expectations that people may have had of him. This is his year. When he got called up, I, for one, thought it was premature. However, he's stepped up to the bat, and he's basically knocked out. He hasn't hit he didn't hit a single. He didn't hit a double. He knocked it out the park in terms of everything that he's doing. If you want the antithesis of a professional wrestler, who can be entertaining, can be great in the ring, at times not afraid to take a bump or a loss, Angel Garza is your guy. And for someone so young and so charismatic, he's someone that you can build the next 5 years around. And he is my breakout superstar of the year.
Yeah, definitely. Like, honestly, in the ring, out of the ring, you guys have all essentially mentioned it. There's nothing left to be said in regards to that. But just a quick aside to the other candidates, obviously a lot of people, the popular opinion, depending on the week you may ask them, will probably be MJF because of 23-year-old prodigy, 24-year-old prodigy, things of that nature, like being one of the hottest heels in AEW. And Darby Allin, similar thing of where it's like, you have those week by week type of moments, but it's the consistency, I believe, that has reigned true with this chat, with the here at the Backstage Brawl in regards to Angel Garza, because he's done it year round, whether it's NXT, whether it's Monday Night Raw, whether he's talking to Charlie Crusoe, whether or not he's talking to a girl from The Bachelor, he's been doing it all. Switching gears here from Breakout Star to Comeback Star of the Year, I think this is probably the most underrated and stacked list possible. We could get many different answers in regards to character-wise, to just the people literally just coming back. We have Randy Orton on Monday Night Raw, dominating, doing his thing. We also have MVP, who was supposed to be retired not 2-3 months ago. Still January. We have Edge. You know what I mean? What's there to be said? We have John Moxley, of course, in AEW. While he has not necessarily been away, his character has more or less kind of went through a character progression, which is somewhat, while it's polarizing, it's admirable because now he's champion. He's in a different area, and he's considered in a different lane, especially now going between AEW and New Japan. And of course, we have Eric's holding his shirt right now, the Messiah, comeback guy of the year. If you want to know why he's on this list, go back to Hell in a Cell 2019 and come back to us right now. That being said, Orton, MVP, Edge, Moxley, Rollins. I'm going to start it off. I think I'll go backwards. I'm going to go People's Champ, you're up to bat. First pick. Who you getting? The
I was
comeback
hoping
star
to
of the
be
year?
last in this one because
Nah, man, you gotta. Hey, listen.
it's a very tough list because every one of these guys, I would say, except for Moxley, has a legitimate chance at being the comeback star of the year. I mean, it was torn for me, and because of the consistency and everything that's going on. I mean, if it wasn't for the injury, I would choose Edge. Off rip. But I have to choose the MVP of Monday Night Raw in Montel Vontavious Porter. And here's why. When MVP came back, it was the understanding that this would be a farewell tour. He would probably be transitioning to a backstage agent and helping out other talent. Then COVID happened, which in some ways can be a blessing in disguise. Yeah. And he's been on screen. He helped revitalize Bobby Lashley's career, and he's helped at least make Shelton Benjamin look formidable on TV, considering he signed back here WWE 4 years ago.
Put him on TV.
Yeah.
He put him on TV.
On TV. He was
on TV.
He was doing segments where he was just staring in space, like, the fact that he did that, and he's helping highlight younger talent, especially younger talent of color. So he's definitely done that. And with the Hurt Business, we can say it's the Beatdown Clan 2.0, but I like the fact that even here in WWE, he's helping use the Hurt Business, even with veterans, highlight younger talent. This past week with Apollo, who I think is probably is starting to feel more comfortable on the mic. And he wouldn't have had that without a MVP presence backstage. So his importance and everything he's done on TV, and I know when the title was first appeared, we all shat on it. And some people became the devil's advocate for the title. I'm not gonna lie. Since this came back, since it's come, I've taken a kind liking to the new title, and it looks good.
Yeah.
All right, G. All right, relax.
Hey, no, that's news. That's news. He was in a handicap match for about a month.
Yeah.
Slight digression, but
Dynamite was looking for a hot tag, but it was just like, you guys worked his leg in the corner.
Bro, let me say, hold on, slight digression. I still think they need to put color on them side plates.
Yeah. No, they do.
Because them things are naked.
They do.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact. But MVP is your comeback star of the year, definitely. And you know what? If nothing else, I know there's a lot of candidates, and there's like a say for him to be an even MVP, first team All Elite, of which we'll get to later. But it's like the sprinkling of him in even the most minute segments. So we just talked about last week about Raw Underground. He's even had a hand in that. So it's like, regardless of whether or not it's high or low, he's been in it. So MVP definitely.
He hasn't missed since he's gotten back.
He hasn't missed. Let's go Big E. Big E, what you say, man?
Oh, come on. You already know who I'm picking, man.
He's like, is this a question?
Is this even for real? Like, come on. Listen, do I have to make an argument for Seth Rollins? Seth Rollins had the worst of the worst babyface tail end runs. He fought Brock Lesnar how many times? Twice. Got cashed in on. Fought Baron Corbin and who was it? Lacey Evans. Lacey Evans in a mixed tag match. He couldn't even break away from his real life girlfriend Becky. So this was a great way for him to break away when he started doing his heel turn, and we saw the early parts of the Monday Night Messiah. Pre-COVID. Pre-COVID, he started slowly getting a heel turn. AOP was coming back. Nobody knew what AOP was coming back for. So,
and they're back out again.
And they're out again. But seeing a more aggressive Rollins, I think this was his first heel turn. This is what most people wanted to see. They wanted to see Rollins be a more aggressive character, where he wasn't more aggressive, he was more self-righteous. Now he's self-righteous, but yet he's still a danger, a threat. And he's put on great quality matches since. I mean, he's been on a losing streak, yeah. But if you look at the overall matches he's had as the Monday Night Messiah, it's helped his character and his quote-unquote cause more than it's hurt his character. And it's built people around him. Buddy Murphy is getting more airtime because of him. Austin Theory joined up. AOP was irrelevant. They were tag champs for a minute. Then they lost it. But you see how other stars were built around the Monday Night Messiah? Come on now. And now he's about to go into a match with Dominic Mysterio, basically a rookie coming onto the main roster.
And you know what? It's something that could be said. And I think that there's a small thing that I don't think anyone kind of has taken too much into account enough. And, you know, we could get into it with the before we got onto this, we were discussing Adam Cole in regards to his work rate. Is he a top 10 wrestler and whatnot? And there's something to be said about Seth Rollins' pacing in late 2019 into 2020. He's finally found that groove. Right. I don't know what it is. Maybe the looming fatherhood over his head, the fact that he doesn't have to take 80 dives out of the ring, and the in-ring psych is just something about his in-ring psychology. And it started off almost seemingly like, I'd say he still had remnants of it with Kevin Owens, but that Drew McIntyre match his pacing in his matches, it's almost as if like he gets it. Everything is just clicking for him. So definitely comeback star of the year candidate. Definitely worthy of being getting a nod. So most def. Mean Gene, what say you, brother?
I'm on Team Big E, man. I'm going with Seth Rollins because at first, like when you first started talking about this off camera, I was like, I was gonna pick Randy Orton, but then I said to myself, like, this thing with Randy Orton, his hair run it's been fantastic, but it's like, I expect these kinds of sinister actions from Randy Orton because he's been doing things like this for years. All right, from RKO and women to what he did to Mick Foley all those years ago, what he's done to The Undertaker, like what he did to Stephanie, Triple H, that whole thing. It's like, these are the kind of things. Yeah, exactly. That's Phoenix. Like, these are the kind of things I expect from, even what he did to Ric Flair.
You know what?
Look at like, yeah.
It's like one of those things where, like, if we made the correlation to, you know, any other sport, it's like you can't win Most Improved every other year, right? Like you can't win that award. It's like, dude, we already know that you had this in you. So
yeah,
I feel you on that.
Yeah, and then, like, don't get me wrong, like, it's fantastic to see on TV. Even like every little sinister act he does, it gets worse and worse. I'm just like, damn, Randy, really? But I'm like, exactly, 71-year-old Ric Flair. But like I said, like with Seth Rollins, I'm like, I can't not pick Seth Rollins because, like, it's like what Big E said. This man had one of the worst babyface runs I've ever seen out of somebody who you would not expect to have a bad babyface run. And it's not entirely his fault. I give him that. It's not entirely his fault. The booking kind of messed him up. And then obviously, like, even though his whole, you know, social media antics and everything else, like the fans just turning on him and whatever, and that Hell in a Cell travesty that he tried to explain that I don't know why he was doing that. But it's like after that, and then you just see the fans turn on him, and he's just like, you know what? Forget this. Like, I know I'm the top guy in Raw, but y'all not seeing this. So I'm just gonna force it down your throats that y'all believe this message that I'm trying to put out, that I am the best. Everything I've been doing, even when I beat Brock, I did it for y'all. So y'all can have a champion who's here all the time, but y'all still didn't love me after that. So it's like, you know what? I'm gonna do things differently. And he goes to that path, becoming the Monday Night Messiah. And it was a very slow transaction in January. Not gonna hold you. Like, it's really been picking up. Biggie, I know it was Biggie or JJ who said it. The Drew McIntyre thing is what really started, like, he was like putting fire to the smoke that he's already got going on here, because he went and we had a killer match with Drew McIntyre at Money in the Bank. And even during the loss, he took that. He just said, you know what? I lost to Drew. I accept that, Drew. I'm giving you the keys. You know, you can be WWE champion right now, but I'm still the guy here. You know, I'm still the man who's got to deliver this sermon to the people on a weekly basis. I wish he could go back to delivering those sermons because that'd be fantastic. But he does that. He goes on his whole shtick. And then, like, the thing with Rey Mysterio, it's like, I did not expect this Rey Mysterio feud to be as good as it was. Honestly, not because I don't think Rey was terrible or anything. Because I know Rey's great. We all know Rey's great. Seth Rollins is great. But it's just like, to see that this has been one of the most entertaining things on Raw as of late, especially now that they've involved his son Dominic. It's just like it's awesome. You can't not say Seth Rollins' comeback of the year. Biggie brought up a good point.
Barring the googly eyes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Barring that. And but it's just like what Biggie mentioned about all the talent that has been up because of Seth Rollins. AOP was an afterthought before he showed up. He turned them into something. And one of them got injured, and then the other one you can't really use the other one, so you just said forget that. You got Buddy Murphy there, prominent on TV. Dude became a tag team champion out of the whole thing with Seth Rollins. You had Austin Theory, who probably could have been something if it wasn't for this old business over there, but he brought him up. Then you have, again, the biggest one to me is Dominic right now, because Dominic is about to have a match against one of the top guys in WWE in one of the big 4 pay-per-views. How could you not look at this man and say, yo, how Seth Rollins is not great for these young talents? You can't not make the argument for this man. So for me, Seth Rollins is my comeback star of the year, half year, excuse me, and hopefully he does some more good stuff. Wouldn't mind seeing him be champion next year.
Most
if they want to go that path.
Hey, like later, like who knows? He could be the guy by the end of the year. You know what I mean? Like this year ain't ended. I just need Big E to do the pose, strike the pose before I ask. We got 2 in a row. You got this all coming according to plan. He already won the award. It's all down to get time.
That got me. It's a little bit. All right, time to be the different guy.
Yeah.
My whole life. Okay, so I'm gonna be honest with you. That Eric and Gene over here really, for a second, tried to sway me to go on the Seth Rollins train. They really did, and it was very well thought out. I think what they said was really good. I think that MVP also has a very legitimate case, but this is a very tough set of people to fight against because everybody has a legitimate case. And I think for me personally, I have to go with Randy Orton. And the reason why is no one has had a better 180 than Randy Orton this year. And I say that with the utmost respect to everybody else. I think the only person on the list, like MVP, you can make the argument. But that was more, like, it was shocking. But for Randy Orton, it's been years of being misused and being miscast. I had a conversation with Jay earlier in the day where we were talking about how Randy Orton's has always been quality. Like everybody said, you kind of expect that out of Randy Orton. But the thing is like when you've been put on ice for so long, look in the case like a Dolph Ziggler. Everybody knows Dolph Ziggler has the potential to carry the company on his shoulders. He has the heart. He has the ability. He can talk on the mic. He's passionate. But when you put somebody on ice for so long, it's very hard for you to get invested in them again. It takes a while. It takes a lot of long-term planning, a lot of long-term building. The reason why we have more assurance that Randy Orton can snap out of it quicker than most is because he's had the benefit of being in this company since he was 20 years old. And he has been working in WWE in a way where he's, since 2003, has been involved in high-profile programs for a majority of his career. Now, it hasn't always been perfect, but in terms of opportunities on television, very few people can say that Randy Orton hasn't had most of those spots. And when you compare Randy Orton's spots on television, he's compared not to the Rey Mysterios and the Christians of the world. He's up there with the John Cenas of how much you're showcased on TV. And, even if there are filler opportunities, Orton is given way more opportunities than most. And that tied perfectly into his character this year in the sense that he went from not even being a factor around Royal Rumble time to being the best heel in professional wrestling. Not on Raw, not on SmackDown, not in WWE, in professional wrestling. COVID or not, Orton could have done, with an audience, this would be magnified by at least by 5. Randy Orton spent the entire year basically convincing the entire world that if you thought I'd lost it, it has never left. It has been waiting for you. This man is on a sadistic run, and we've seen glimpses of it. A couple years ago, we saw what he did to Jeff Hardy during their feud, ironically leading to Hell in a Cell. And Randy Orton's just been waiting for the opportunity to sink his teeth into something. And it's this very calm and comfortable Orton where it's like he's always been a natural. He's always been good at this stuff. But Orton has his natural ability to just be great at a veteran, like at a 40-year-old veteran level in his 20s. And now he's 40. He has the experience to back up his ability, and that's why it's so scary to see how good Randy Orton is right now. Earlier in the year, people had their doubts about Randy Orton and Edge's feud being able to make it past the last man standing match because traditionally, last man standing matches are used to end feuds in a similar sense to Hell in a Cell. And on some beautiful long-term storytelling, Randy Orton and Edge made the last man standing match the first match in their feud and made the story continue into the greatest wrestling match ever. Some of the best in-ring work we've seen from both Randy Orton and Edge. And, I could joke around, talk about how, Christian's going to win this match. And he had a heavy influence on Edge's moveset that entire match. But Randy Orton, beyond the Edge feud, we've had some weird instances with Big Show, this and that, but his work, no matter who he's paired with, he reminds you he's that fucking dude. And it is it's one of the most satisfying revenge tours in professional wrestling history. Because for years, people have said Randy Orton had lost it. He's boring. He has nothing left to give. His height was a decade ago. And now he's making everyone hop on his job in a way that is so unanimous that now if you try to say that Orton isn't good, people who used to jump on him will jump on them. And if that doesn't give enough credence to the fact that Orton deserves to be not only mentioned in this light, but should be the winner of that, I don't know what else is, because Seth Rollins' push started all the way into his tragedy. He's been talking about being the face of Raw. Monday Night Rollins turned into the Monday Night Messiah. This has been going on for a year, a lot of build, right? Mm-hmm. Edge, we heard the rumors going on. We didn't believe them necessarily, but we've heard the rumors for a while that he was going to come back. MVPs is the only one on this list that I feel is as much of a surprise as Randy Orton's. And credit to Randy. He's been touting MVP for the longest. But Randy and while MVPs might be more out of nowhere, no pun intended, Randy Orton's has been such a 180. It has been such a turn that he's making new fans out of kids that should be hating him right now.
Yeah.
So I got to give it to RKO. And also best face turn outside of this heel turn. Nobody does it like Randy. This man is just So got to give it to Orton.
Yeah, man. But if nothing else, tell you why Christian winning the best match of all time. I think.
He did, and then he got kicked off TV for it.
Literally
got
kicked off of TV.
With that compelling case with Orton, I would want to vote for him myself. But in any event, Seth Rollins is an overwhelming W on this, and kicking it into high gear with the storyline of the year. Now, speaking of Orton, we got Edge versus Orton. We got Taker versus AJ. We got Inner Circle versus The Elite. We have Nick Aldis and NWA for the NWA viewers versus Marty Scurll. And we also have John Cena versus Bray Wyatt, that WrestleMania feud that culminated in the 5-5 Funhouse. We all enjoy. Kid Dynamite. What say you, brother?
Yo, I'm going to be real. I think for me, it's without question Edge and Orton. The reason why I say that is because I feel like every other feud kind of revolves around one match or maybe 2 or 3 segments, and as a whole package just doesn't hold up to Edge and Orton. So to see Randy Orton and Edge be able to weave a very nice basket that is still open-ended. The rumors that Edge might come back in the 2021 Royal Rumble, that they might have Edge possibly take the belt off of Orton if Orton were to win at SummerSlam, which is a whole nother episode in itself. But the feud is so good as is, and it still has potential to go on. And I give a lot of credit to Randy Orton, but Edge as well. Just the comeback, the fact that it was foreshadowed even as far as in the Rumble. You didn't even notice that. The fact that they were, rated RKO for a second, and then Edge turned on Orton. And that, in a sense, you can trace it back to being the start of this whole thing going. To the point where Edge has done some of the best character work. Him getting attacked and concertoed, his hand flinching, twitching all around. Like the nerves were just starting to spiral out of control. The fact that Edge, everyone saw the blacked out promo of him in the ring. talking about how pissed off he was after what Orton did to Christian. I will say I did want to say Taker and AJ Styles, but I think most of us enjoyed the match more than the feud. There were moments in the feud that we liked, like the latter segments, but when Taker teleported and beat the shit out of the Good Brothers, I'm not going to sit here and lie, that was one of the most hilarious segments for the wrong reasons. When Taker decided to drop Deadman and just
Come on,
hybrid
man. You didn't
Listen-
enjoy that bad boy, man. Come on now.
No, because that part was cool, but then they kept cutting back to AJ's face. And AJ has a hilarious face when he's surprised. So it took the seriousness out of the segment for me for a bit. But, when Taker went hybrid and he went on his Deadman, like, boy, I got 29 holes for 29 souls type mess, it picked up. But before that, it wasn't that crazy inspiring outside of AJ shooting on Taker that first time. You know what I mean?
And also the ether heard around the world by
we only accept that version with the ether song in the background.
Exactly.
If that's not on the network,
if y'all don't put it out there with the beat in the background, we don't want it.
If it's not on the one on the network is Photoshop. It's edited.
Exactly.
They took it out. The song definitely played during that promo.
That's a fact. Honestly, I'm gonna tell you what happened. They did the WWE Network edit. You know how they do when they since Jim Johnson don't work with them no more, they have the Goldberg.
Yes.
And you can't even hear the actual Jim Johnson shit. They did that. They did all that.
They became editing Nazis, and they refused to let us have fun. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
they just let us have this.
That's where I stand.
And that's one of those things why Christian's gonna win the greatest match of all.
Goddamn right. And that's why this is the best feud of the year. So
that's a fact. BG, what say you, man?
I'm gonna have to go with Ty on this one. I was already when he made his point about Randy Orton being the comeback guy. I said, man, I was on the Undertaker AJ boat, but when he made his argument about Randy Orton being the comeback, so I said, damn, I gotta give it to Edge versus Orton.
He's switching you, man. He stays switching.
Yeah,
y'all gotta make me go last.
Dude, no. Because I love it because it was a struggle for me to pick either one because my heart. Because you know how much I love AJ, I love Undertaker, so it's like my heart was gonna go to them. But then I'm listening, I'm thinking about what Edge and Orton has accomplished, and then I'm thinking what you just said, and I'm like, yo, it's got to be them. Because but before you even said it, I hadn't made it a point in my head to be like, this feud between them isn't even over yet. That's the best part about this. This thing isn't even over yet. The only reason why we stopped is because of the Edge. It's because Edge got hurt, but. It started from the Royal Rumble where you could honestly make the argument that it's Edge's fault that Randy Orton is the way he is because Edge eliminated him from the Royal Rumble because he thought they were cool. But he turned traitor and did what he had to do. So Randy Orton, in a sense, you could say he was justified for his actions afterwards. But it's like they do the WrestleMania match, the last man standing match, and then Ty brought up a good point where it's like this was the first match. You don't do last man standing matches as a first match of the feud. I've rarely, if ever, I don't think I've ever seen that happen before. You do that, and then to have them justify doing this by having Randy Orton come out and say, "Yo, yeah, well, you beat me in that last man standing match, but that's because you can't beat me in a pure, just straight up wrestling match. No, all the DQs, all the countouts."
We were skeptical about this continuing too.
Exactly.
Skeptical about it.
Yeah. I had a feeling it was gonna keep going, but I didn't know how they were gonna plan on doing it. I thought they were gonna honestly take some months break and then book this thing for whatever the pay-per-view would have been before SummerSlam.
And it was
or whatever.
justified. Those things were justified because we've had those things. The most famous example being Cena versus Rock. The greatest comeback one-offs in history that turned into a series is between the two competitors. So clearly, there was cause for pause, but. It was crazy because
we figured he was going to work with new talent, right? Like Orton was going to be this is the Triple H to a Shawn Michaels without the feud. This was going to be this is how we know you back. And then you're going to work with these other pure talents. If people talk about Edge and AJ, Edge and Seth, but they kept with it.
And then they do the greatest match ever stuff. And then you make an argument where it's that's honestly it. And Randy was just after he beats me, just you can go home now, Edge. Go home, be with Ruby, be with Beth. It's okay. I got this now. You don't need to come back. And it's just I'm not gonna hold y'all. When Randy Orton does those low talks to people's ears, I'm just yo, this guy's a whole douche. He did it.
He's a student of Jake.
Yo, listen.
Like,
Listen,
bro,
I know.
no, when you saw him on this, all right, we were all on the chat looking, and we were like, "Yo, why is he the evilest villain in like a fucking franchise?"
because
This
he's
dude-
hungry.
The camera cuts they are overdone
Perfect.
at times, but the
Right.
camera cuts that night was perfect. He just looked at him. You know when he got his neck like this, he's like,
Yeah, and I
like, yeah. Like,
and I think it just at that point they just let him do that because he goes to Edge saying, you know,
Yeah.
you can go be with Ruby and the kids. Then he goes to Christian and says, Christian, look, see, I told you, I didn't want this match. I warned you what was gonna happen, but you weren't listening to me. And then he does it to Big Show, like, yo, Big Show, I told you what I was gonna do to you, but you ain't listening to me. And then it's just like, damn. And then he did it to Ric Flair too. He's like, Ric Flair, I'm so sorry. You know, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me, but it's like, look, now you can go home too.
Bro, a hungry Randy Orton
It's
looking
scary.
for revenge
It's
is not scary. That is an Amber Alert.
Yeah,
All right?
yeah.
Like, it's not fair.
Okay, Big E, you're up. We already got 2-0 on Edge Orton. Got you know what we got. What say
I'm
you,
torn.
brother?
I'm torn. I'm gonna tell you why I'm torn. I'm
So,
torn because everyone made a very good point, and then there was something that was brought up in a wrestling group that I'm in, that wrestling fans nowadays don't like the long-term payoff of a long-term storyline.
Oh, you
And this
talking
is
about that
exactly
what Seth Rollins said? Seth Rollins
No.
said that.
No,
Oh, okay. Because he did say that.
Oh,
All right,
actually,
go ahead.
yeah, he did say it. I'm sorry, he did say
He
that.
did say that.
That a lot of fans don't like the long-term payoff, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what Edge and Orton is. It's a long-term payoff, and we haven't got the long-term payoff yet. But the ride has been very much enjoyable. The
Ride is
storytelling,
ludicrous.
the storytelling, the characters, even people involved. Beth Phoenix being involved.
Yes.
Let's
Ric
mention her too.
Flair.
Yeah.
Not
Ric
RKO.
Flair
got-
being
Do
involved.
you not? We still got shit to talk about. Do y'all
Yeah.
understand? We're
Yeah, I
not
don't
even
understand how
mentioning
this
everything.
feud. Right? Come on.
It's a long term, but I'm gonna be the different one here because there's still a part of me as a little kid still needs hope. I'm gonna go with AJ and Taker, and here's why. I'm gonna go AJ and Taker not only for the match, because the match was great, still top number one as cinematic matches, still top number one.
Oh
Bray
yeah.
Wyatt holds 2 and 3.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Bray Wyatt holds 2 and 3 with Cena and with Braun.
I'd
But
say Sammy
definitely number
Guevara
one.
at number 3.
Braun.
Sammy
Okay.
Guevara got hit by a hot dog cart. That's sacrifice right there.
Sammy Guevara, if we hold on, I'm gonna put Sammy Guevara in his own category.
Yeah.
He's meme of the year because
He's
he's
zero.
had a meme
Yeah.
ever since January. He's had a meme.
He has.
He's lucky
Oh.
it's this year because Jericho had everything last year.
Right. But going back to the Taker and AJ thing, I just feel like I don't know. For a part of me feels like this is not over. It's just not over for me. Like it's not. Even though we've saw the Taker documentary, we've seen Taker basically just say, "Hey, listen, I'm done." As much as he says he's done, we all know Vince. Vince is gonna pull him back in. He's gonna want to work again. AJ Styles, ever since the whole Taker thing, they even hinted at it at Money in the Bank. You know, it's still kind of haunting him. Now they kind of, steered away from it because he's on his IC title run right now, which,
Great.
he's doing his thing on SmackDown. Since after the after effect of it, AJ has gotten a WWE championship opportunity. We all know the controversy of why he's not on Raw right now.
Mm-hmm.
For those who don't know, it's apparently it's Heyman's fault. But for the most part, it got Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson at the time got them more recognition. They were an afterthought in the tag team division before this whole Taker feud started happening. Then they started picking up steam. The OC itself started picking up steam again, to where fans were even questioning whether they were going to have their adaptation of the Bullet Club again in WWE. So there was a lot that went into the Taker and AJ feud that not only went inside of it, but outside of the ring as well. inside the ring, that was some of the probably. I would like to see a traditional match between them. I would like to see a traditional singles match.
And you know
I feel
what?
like AJ could work that match.
And you know what? It's
Could. We
oh,
know he can.
You made the point at the top.
You're
that
right. I'm sorry. He can.
Yeah,
Sorry, you're forgiven. You're forgiven.
you made the point at the top where it was like, hey, listen, like they may say he's done, but I don't know. There's something about 30-year anniversary that I'm still skeptical about.
Damn
And
right.
I
Something
have been
a
quoted.
30-year anniversary.
I have been quoted on this podcast. This is the 15th episode. I have been quoted on this podcast since day one that AJ Styles and Taker are going to have a match where we're finally going to see an official retirement. It's gonna happen. It has to happen.
So we got two, more or less. We got two in the Edge Orton. We got the Taker AJ. Randy, you gonna even up the score? You gonna go different, or
I'm like Biggie, man. I'm torn between that. You know,
A hard one.
And I'm a huge Taker fan. I followed his career since he had the purple gloves and everything. Like it's a soft spot for me, but at the same time, I'm about consistency. I'm about the long game. So I gotta make this. No pun intended to the 2016 Warriors. I gotta make this with the Edge and Randy Orton feud, and here's why. You know, Randy Orton.
Now, don't hate Biggie. Don't hate.
I'm not hating on it. I'm not hating on it. I'm not hating on it at all.
You know,
Hey, let me have this. You got Seth.
when Edge came back at SummerSlam last year and speared Elias, that was kind of like the first time I was like, oh, he might actually come back. He had no feelings in the neck. Like, he's able to do that again? And then we kind of all was like, well, he might actually come back. He's like, maybe he really shouldn't. And then January happened. You know, it was a crazy day that day. You know, and then Edge coming back, it was like the highlight of the night because it was a very, very bad day to begin with. You know, all things considered that day. And when Edge came back, you almost forgot what happened earlier. And it's like, oh my God, he's back. And then the next night, it was like, oh my God. And then going into WrestleMania, you know, and like I've said before in the early first couple episodes, past year's WrestleMania was one of the most unique and was really, really good for what it was. You know, it had no internal flaws for what it was. And that match, that last man standing match between Orton and Edge, it was storytelling at its finest. It was storytelling one-on-one. And if there's anything that wrestling fans have been asking for is, we know the in-ring work is going to be great. It's just storytelling and allowing them to actually tell the story and having a payoff.
Yeah, just make me care.
Yeah, like make us care. And then going into the greatest wrestling match ever, I did not like the tagline. We all didn't like the tagline.
Mm-hmm.
But damn, that match was
there you go.
Like
Hold up.
one of the best matches all year. You know, like it was one of the best matches. You know, to the point where you didn't even see where Edge tore his pectoral, tore his tricep.
That's true.
It was that impactful that those two were able to tell a story, and it's such a lost art in telling stories. And the fact it's still continuing, even like Ty said, and Gene has even said, we haven't really gotten to the nitty gritty because Edge is not here. And despite that, he's still finding ways to be, you know, incorporating the story, even though he's not really there with what he's doing to other people, like this past week, and beyond that. Orton has found ways to elevate himself to a level that I didn't think that he was able to even surpass himself. So the fact that the story is being told, it's been a long, long time since WWE has told a story that's actually had, you know, longer than a 6-month shelf life. So This is good. So I would say this year's story of the year has to be Orton versus Edge.
My man is a Superman. He's a Super Saiyan 4.
Yeah,
this motherfucker.
He has the tail.
He has evolved to.
He has the tail. Yeah,
like
it's
he
ridiculous.
made Taker cry. The greatest match of all bullshit made Taker cry. If anything, Eric, that's why Taker will come back.
Oh my God.
That just proves my
We-
point
we-
even more.
No, it doesn't prove my point. It proves my point. This feud.
Hey, nah, I'm
And it proves my point for the 4th time that Christian won the goddamn match.
Listen, I'll say this. I'll say this much before we move on. Shouts out to, although it's almost as if it's weird in the fact that it was long-term storytelling with this, but it was almost non-existent at a point, and then it revisited itself. Kind of what WWE kind of coined itself on recently with this whole "it makes sense now, it didn't make sense back then" thing. Shouts out to the Cena and Wyatt feud, because for all intents and purposes, if we're sitting here talking about long-term storytelling, while it wasn't intentful, the payoff, at least in the moment, really resonated, especially with us at that point with WrestleMania going on, and we were just like, "Yo!" It basically, it's almost like it kind of bathed all the sins of of the past of WrestleMania, I believe 30. So
Yeah.
honestly, it shouts out to that and the lead up to the feud as well, because there was a lot of personal animosity similar to the Taker AJ, similar to the Randy Orton Edge. So that could have definitely been up for grabs as well.
You know what would have moved it up a little bit?
Yeah.
They put the Universal title on that whole feud.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that.
Like,
But also, we're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into it. I also do want to shout out, although we don't necessarily cover it as often as we should. We apologize, NWA fans. Nick Aldis, versus Marty Scurll, because that was a very
underrated
in terms of traditional, feud of I want what you have. I'm basically sacrificing what I need, what I have to get what you have. That's a very, very, that's a staple of
Treasure versus the Villain. That was a
feud. And
rest assured, the Backstage Brawl knows exactly what's causing all of this.
Exactly. Queen of the Ring.
Oh God.
Oof.
This is going to be a very contested thing because, clearly this year has been a lot highs and lows, especially with the women. I see one consistent, steady person on this list. I'm going to leave my opinions aside. That being said, we have Tessa Blanchard from Impact Wrestling. We have Sasha Banks, SmackDown. Bayley, SmackDown. Charlotte, everywhere, essentially. And Asuka,
we gonna get to that
on Monday Night Raw. So,
oh, man.
Without any further ado, because I am snaking it back and forth, it ended off with Randy in the last one. I'm going to start off with Randy in this one. Again,
this is a hard one to choose.
Hey.
And great list, first and foremost. Every female on this list has some legit reasons to be Queen of the Ring. Tessa Blanchard especially, out of the ring stuff aside, she was the first female to hold a male-dominated championship in Impact Wrestling. She has just as much of a point. Sasha Banks, if anything, she's a comeback player of the year, comeback female wrestler of the year, considering everything that she went through mentally and emotionally to come back. Bayley, you know how I feel about Pamela. You already know what time it is. Chinlock got here. Charlotte, I mean, there's nothing else to be said. She is the queen, but for 2020, she is not my Queen of the Ring. Which leads me to my last pick. Asuka. She is the queen. She is the best. She is the queen of the ring. And if there was even such a tournament, WWE make it happen.
Next year.
She is by far the queen of the ring. She's been the most consistent, and considering the sins of the past, as we talked about with Cena and Wyatt, she was finally able to get a win over Charlotte this year, and it was clean. Like, even though it was on free TV, it still happened. It's canon.
Yeah.
It was, for the fact that for a time you thought she was being overlooked and undervalued. What she was doing with Kairi Sane, keeping her on TV, even on commentary, sure, she does things like Donnie from the Wild Thornberry speaking out of turn and speaking in Japanese. But in terms of her in-ring work and what she brought to the ring, she has been. There's no one better.
So you know what with that, and like I'll probably expound upon it when we get to the male wrestler of the year or King of the Ring in this sense.
Who that is?
I feel like everybody gonna have a different opinion.
I did mention prior to the broadcast that Asuka and a person like Chris Jericho had similar parallels to me, and it was for the reasons that you mentioned right before you ended your speech, Randy. If I'm not wrestling, I'm ring announcing, and I'm killing that. If I'm not ring announcing, I'm managing, and I'm killing that. If I'm not doing that, I'm killing everything. I may not be prominently in a feud, but I am still the show. And that's a trait. That's a trait that, like we see it with a Chris Jericho. I've been watching a bunch of 2003 Raw recently. You were doing it back then. Kevin Owens is one of those guys too, where it's like, I may not be in anything, but anything that I'm a part of, we gonna hit a home run on this, and I'm gonna do it big. It just so happens that Asuka has done it to the scale of which that she is picked as your Queen of the Ring.
I like to add a thing before I switch over to Big E. I think, and especially for Asuka, what's made her and she's also like her championship run has a lot of credibility this year, especially with her matches, aside. I think also what's also lost in the fact that she was also part of the most heartfelt moment of the year with Becky's pregnancy announcement, and the fact that the pure joy and the most like genuine reaction, because I believe she's a mother as well.
Yes, she is.
She had. It was so heartfelt, and if you're home, if you're female or male even, and you get that genuine joy, you don't get that often, especially in WWE. And for her to be part of that situation, it was so organic and so heartfelt. And the fact that when she did take the title, in some way she took that as a badge of honor to continue for Becky as she is now, with her pregnancy. I felt that was one of the most heartfelt moments. And everything that she's done since then and now has solidified her case.
Respect. Big E. Your partner made a case for Asuka. What say you, man? What say you?
It's going to be very controversial for everybody that watches this show.
Oh, God.
Because I am an advocate for Charlotte.
I swear to God.
I'm an advocate for Charlotte.
I will tear your ass up.
But I have to say this. It is not Charlotte.
Yeah. We're all going to have different answers for this, man. I feel like we're all going to have
not Charlotte.
There is a Jesus.
Only reason why I'm going to touch on Charlotte real quick, the only reason why it's not Charlotte, when Charlotte got the NXT title, she didn't do what she was supposed to do with the NXT title. And this is what Gene talks about often when we bring this up. She did not elevate. Say what? She did not elevate the women's division in NXT. Like, this was supposed to be, you're bringing one of the greatest champions to a third brand to elevate it. Now, don't get me wrong, the payoff was good with Io Shirai winning the title. And that was an amazing triple threat match, by the way. But the match with her and Rhea Ripley was not what we thought it was going to be. It was good. It wasn't where up to par what Charlotte should have had. And then they still have an open-end feud going on with Rhea Ripley and Charlotte. They never really had a rematch. But Charlotte's off TV now. So that's why I say it's not Charlotte. But I'm going to choose somebody different. I'm going to choose somebody recently that's been killing it. I'm going to go with Bayley. And the reason why I'm going with Bayley,
my man,
the reason why I'm going with Bayley is because of this. Nobody saw Bayley turning heel. Sasha turned heel, everybody saw it coming. Tessa Blanchard, I mean, even though she was transcending something that basically most women have done out in the independent, not on the main.
That's all right. Sorry.
On the main roster.
We edited that. Don't worry.
We edited that.
Go back to your phone.
My bad.
Mostly like Tessa Blanchard, even though women have gotten male dominant titles on the independent scene. It's never been done on a global scale, and for her to do it on a global scale, that means something. But I think that with Tessa Blanchard, if she would have came out on top, if she would have performed in that Slammiversary match and came out on top, it definitely would have been Tessa Blanchard for me at least. But Bayley has had the most payoff out of this. She's had a great heel turn that nobody saw coming. Her commentary work is great. Her pairing up with Sasha is another great thing that's going on right now. Even though a lot of people are kind of iffy on it, the storyline is there. It's there to be made. I know a lot of people, including us, wanted the Bayley and Sasha match to happen, at SummerSlam, and we all predicted that as a fantasy card. Even though it's not going to happen now, it is going to happen eventually. It has to happen. So we're going to get that long-term payoff. Again, this is what I was talking about, long-term storylines. This is a long-term storyline that is bound to happen. And Bayley is going to be at the forefront of that. She's the one even calling themselves the golden role models. That's a thing now. And they're dominating the women's division in WWE.
It's weird because, whenever I see either Sasha or Bayley with those multiple titles, I just think of that Bugs Bunny meme. I just think of he's just in gold. He's just draped in gold and he's just chilling on that chalice. It's that way. But I'll say this much on Bayley, in terms of being a Queen of the Ring, aka the most valuable women's wrestler. The underrated matchups that she's done, and the fact that she's elevated the likes of Nikki Cross.
Let's not get into that.
There's that element of just elevating a person like that who, has not gotten a chance outside of a person like the Four Horsewomen. For her to basically be leveled up by a person like Bayley is respect to her in the confines of her long-term feud. So much props to Bayley. Mean Gene, what's to say, man?
This is good because Big E. I thought we were all gonna have different opinions on this, but I guess we're not. Because I'm going with Bayley. I'm going with Bayley too, my man. And because for the simple fact is that she was a no-brainer for me. She was a no-brainer for me because she made me a believer in her. Because anyone who's the Backstage Raw piece, if y'all seen past videos, I have 9 out of 10 times have shitted on Bayley. Because I was not a fan of her babyface run. I said, this thing came off as fake. This, all this lovey-dovey, plushy toy stuff, hugging stuff. I said, this is fake. Ain't no way this is what she like. And then I said, I told him, I remember when the Bayley, This Is Your Life segment showed up. I said, guys, see, that's the true Bayley right there. Because only a true sadist would let their fans sit through a segment like that when she should have pulled up from the moment they brought her teacher. But she didn't. She let us drag on to the boyfriend and the best friend kissing and yada, yada, yada. I said, nah. See, what y'all seeing right there is Bayley. That's why I said she would be a good heel one day. But then as the time went forward, I was like, all right, so this woman's not going to turn. She's going to basically be female John Cena. We ain't never going to see this happen. But then she pulls off the turn in October. And I'm not going to lie, I was jaw-dropped because I did not see that coming at all. I did not expect this. But then I said, it was first initial shock factor. But then as the months went on to November and December, I was like, she ain't that good. I was in the boat of, I might as well give Lacey Evans this championship because Bayley's not doing it for me. But then 2020 picks up, especially in January during Rumble season. Bayley, to me, that's when she started picking up. I know me and Biggie were talking off screen. He said it was when she paired up with Sasha Banks. But I said, during that whole thing, initially, before Sasha Banks got her injury or something and she left, it was like Sasha Banks was the focal point of that whole thing. But then when Sasha Banks came back, it wasn't just Sasha Banks anymore. It wasn't just, oh, yeah, we just want Sasha Banks as champion. No, Bayley at that point had shown me that she had what it takes to be the top heel female SmackDown Women's Champion on the brand. She was killing it with Lacey Evans. Her matches with Lacey Evans were good. I know JJ brought up, she's been pushing people that we don't normally expect to have, underrated matches. Her match with Lacey Evans is underrated. Her several matches with Nikki Cross are underrated. Her Kairi Sane's last match against Bayley was great. she just like we knew that Bailey had this potential. Like she's one of those few females on the roster that's so good that she can make other people look good. You know what I mean? Like the Four Horsemen, they all have that kind. They're all in that category. But it's just like with Bailey specifically, when you see her in matches with somebody, 9 out of 10 times, especially if it's somebody that's like underutilized or may not be as great as you think they are, she can come up there and pull up a match that you would not expect. Like, oh, shit. Okay, Bailey, I see you. I see what you're doing for so-and-so, for Kyrie, Nikki, and whatever. And then the whole heel persona that she's doing where she just said F the fans, y'all weren't by my side when I cried after Charlotte beat me at Hell in a Cell for the championship. Y'all didn't send me no get well soon cards, whatever the hell. So she just went blown up heel. And then 2020, she just kicks it up even more, calls herself a role model for people everywhere. The little shticks that she was doing, now the fact that she's now Bailey Dostrap, which I'm not going to lie, when they took the titles off of Bliss and Cross, I was like, really? Y'all really want to do that? But she takes the titles, and she's been killing it with those too. To the point where she's even having Dostraps buzzed all on her head and her haircut. So it's like she's really taken this heel gimmick. She's really made it work. And I just can't say enough good things about Bailey. She turned me from one of her biggest detractors to one of her biggest fans. Now, anybody who ever comes on her for this heel persona, I'm coming for you because I could give you facts on facts on facts why this heel persona for hers is such good shit. So Bailey, to me, is my queen of the ring. Team Big E.
Respect.
Yeah.
Without getting too much in depth, because I know it's going to bleed into this next segment. Kid Ty, floor is yours.
So I want y'all to know that I love you all, and I respect your opinions, but I'm going to tell you why it's not good and why I'm sticking with my blood here. Look,
we tied today.
We have a situation where I don't disagree with everything that y'all are saying with Bailey. I'm not going to Tessa. Let me address Tessa. Did a big thing. She ruined it for herself.
Yep.
That accomplishment got backtracked. We could say outside of the ring, but it's like it played into what ended up happening. Like she left them high and dry for their pay-per-view for weeks of television. I'm not going to sit here and act like it wasn't something like it's not forgivable at that time. What do you call it? Charlotte later. But I will say that the reason why I don't pick Sasha, Bailey, and Charlotte as a whole is because of issues we brought up on the podcast for a while. The fact that WWE continually forces the Four Horsewomen in many different incarnations down our throat at the expense of other women's momentum. There are women right now who, barring injury or not, should be in a higher position. We brought up names like Dana Brooke, Ember Moon. We brought up Naomi. We brought up the whole 9 yards, right? But the reason why Bailey out of those three is the most legitimate case, because Sasha's momentum picked up a lot more in recent months.
Yeah. Overall. And it still hasn't peaked yet.
Yes, but the reason why I can't agree with it is while Bailey has been consistent, Bailey has done a lot of character development. She's shown how charismatic she can be as a heel. She's shown people she has a personality, because before, people loved her for being the goody-good, because it was a very genuine approach to being the goody-goody as opposed to a forced narrative like John Cena, which is why people brought up the fact that she could be like a Cena for the women's division. With Cena, it felt like he kind of turned into a babyface randomly. It went from FU to attitude adjustment 1 week in 2008, and we were just sitting here like, what's going on? And it took us years to realize we were doomed.
So what you're saying is essentially the face character of Bailey was genuine.
It was a lot more genuine. It had more years behind it.
I just wanted to put that out there.
Yes, the face.
Shut up, JJ.
Just wanted to.
Face character. The face character of Bailey was more genuine. It had more years behind it of people getting. It had a slow build, and it definitely rose in 2015. These two have been connected to each other long before 2015. And in terms of their current storyline, the roots of it began in late 2017. I had to go back and research this to make sure my time's right. Late 2017 into early 2018. Back to when Sasha Banks knocked Bailey off of the pod on the Alexa Bliss deal. You had the inaugural Women's Tag Team Championship deal because they were the first Women's Tag Team Champion. They were feuding with each other for a good amount of 2018. When Sasha took her hiatus, the storyline took a little bit of a halt. But here's the point that this is the reason why I can't agree. This is long-term storytelling, but I think this is long-term storytelling that's stalled for a long time. This feud has been going on. We're going to be heading into 3 years pretty soon. This storyline's been going on for almost 3 years straight. The storyline has been teased multiple times in those 3 years to end. It's not a 2020 exclusive thing. And they're dragging it out because they're in desperation mode right now with the women's division. There are people that they're starting to give chances to now, but not in the leaps and bounds they should be to really show people we care. You know what I mean? Like Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan have just gotten a handle of their momentum now, right? Where Liv Morgan
again.
Liv Morgan earlier in the year was on a winning streak, disappeared. Now she's on a team with Ruby Riott again. Bianca Belair is beating bitches up on Twitch streams.
Fine.
Like, we are having random ass women's storylines out of nowhere. If it wasn't for Naomi's hashtag, where would Naomi be, right? But one thing you can guarantee is the 4 horsewomen will always be at the forefront because those are the most popular women they can run with. Those are their get out of jail free card. And I appreciate Bayley's consistency. I appreciate all the leaps and bounds she went. But the reason why I pick Asuka is because she was never expected to make it this year. She was put in a random tag team with Kairi Sane based off the fact that they're Japanese and they had nothing for them. They made it work to the best of their ability. They became tag team champions in a division that doesn't exist. And when Asuka was given the chance to become even before she became a champion, like you said, JJ, as it's been mentioned before, she made the best out of her opportunity. She was doing everything that she could to make what she was doing matter and make people care and make people talk. And when she was crowned women's champion, she was one of the highlights of the Money in the Bank cinematic match, jumping off of the top floor onto all the women. And there was a lot of craziness going on because that was an intergender Money in the Bank ladder match. Here's your intergender wrestling for you. There's a lot of great moments in there. But she was one of the highlights. She kicked Baron Corbin's ass on the way up.
Oh, yeah.
She was doing her thing. And little did she know she won the championship. She was, and in a symbolic way, as Randy brought up, a very genuine way, she was symbolically rewarded for putting up with so much bullshit for years.
And
yeah.
And you know what? That it calls to reason why, like, and you know, it's to Bayley, to Asuka. I gotta cut the tie, and I would go for Asuka because of that reason. You know what I mean? And I think it's that underrated element of like, even if nothing was for me at a particular point, I'm still batting 1,000. Like, people still checking for me.
She impressed Vince McMahon to the point where she's still on TV. She has been the ultimate overachiever this year, barring maybe Randy Orton.
I give you that.
And that's just about it. You know what I mean? I think Asuka is definitely worthy of that case. And if nothing else, you know, because we sit there and we could like use the accolades to be the talk of the discussion. She was champ, so it's not like she hasn't been doing anything. She was tag champ. She was Raw Women's champ. So definitely, we
lost a whole Kairi Sane for this 4 horsewomen.
Bro,
that's a fact. And we, you know what? If that being said, because you know, without, you know, we have gone a little long, but we do have 2 more awards, and it does partially lead into this award, the Botches, booking wise, of the year. Don't want to spend too much time on it because we did expound upon a little bit of it with everything else. But that being said, we do have the women's division, Sasha versus, the Shayna versus Becky Lynch. That whole feud, how that turned out, turned a fighter into a vampire. You know what I mean? And like, unfortunately, how that happened, and now how we see Shayna turn out here. We have Goldberg 2020. The amount of things that changed, whether it be the trajectory of Braun Strowman, Bray Wyatt, John Cena, Roman Reigns, all of these people. You have Charlotte Flair, the entirety of the NXT roster, parts of the SmackDown roster, the entirety of the Raw undercard for the women's division.
Yeah.
Then you have AEW, their new arrivals. Whereas like, oh, first week you pop up, they here, they live, and hopefully Zack Ryder. We hope Matt Cardona does fantastic in AEW. But if the track record represents it, hopefully one of the two things doesn't happen. He doesn't take somebody's spot, or he doesn't fade to black. Shout out to Aleister Black. So that's essentially it at AEW.
That was a good one.
R.I.P. Buddy Murphy.
And,
That was
you know, the last one being just title divisions, the undercard, especially on all the brands. We talk about the women's division and the tag team division literally everywhere. It's trash. And it has been like up and down. So with all that being said, off of the 5, it is you, Kid Ty, because I am snaking it. Where you going, man?
I think the one that summarizes everything for the most part, because it's all creative at the end of the day, not the talent's fault. Let's get that out the way. Is title divisions. I think that title divisions is what ties all this shit together, because I'm going to look at title divisions as title divisions being weak as a result of creative guidance, and also titles, you know, being mismanaged in general, just the division and the belt itself. Like we said earlier, Charlotte winning the NXT Championship, Charlotte winning the Royal Rumble was not needed. That crux Shayna, because the whole plan was to put her on NXT and get ratings on NXT. That all revolved around the NXT Women's Championship. It cost us a possible great contender for the Women's Championship on Raw. That was like a 7-10 split on knocking like momentum out of the park. The Universal Championship that I refuse to acknowledge its existence at times, is because it's so badly managed, and it's been badly managed since its inception. But, you know, we brought up last week, you know, the whole Roman, you know, leaving out thing. Another reason why the Roman, you know, not being at Mania wouldn't have been such a big deal was because they wanted to put all their eggs in one basket again, the same way they did with the Women's Championship match the year before, and have Roman Reigns and Goldberg fight in this fantasy match for the Universal Championship, when the match itself could have sold tickets without that belt. We've seen them do that for many years. We saw that with Rock and Cena, as you brought up earlier. If they had put the belt on Cena and Bray Wyatt, it would have made that feud just go one notch up because of how much it would have given Bray as consolation for what he's been through the past couple of years. Title divisions have hindered many people. The women's tag team division has been garbage for the past couple of years. Many potential tag teams, Karen Q and Xia Li, Aaliyah and Vanessa Borne in NXT, Team Kick, why is Dakota Kai heel? Like, we've had a lot of these questions. What are the managements with a lot of the people? And a lot of it does come down to titles, because a lot of these title feuds are the main feuds you see on television. It's without a fact. It doesn't always have to be that way. But if you're going to have that many belts on your roster, and New Japan has this issue too, many different companies have this issue. But WWE decided if you're going to bring a belt into existence, you need to give it a plan. And their management of championships has ruined many different feuds. Some have picked up steam, like Apollo Crews getting to be the first undisputed United States champion. You know, AJ Styles winning the Intercontinental Championship was a mercy save, considering that belt, unfortunately, due to the Sami Zayn situation and the Daniel Bryan situation, went haywire. But there should not be as many safety nets for these title mishaps and misbookings. And they're costing them so much in terms of television, making new stars and money.
Yeah. Most definitely. Mean Gene, tough act to follow, but what say you, man?
I'm going with Ty on this one because, like he said, the title issue can be revolved around a lot of these botches, man. Like he said with the Charlotte Flair stuff, like I know me and Big E go back and forth on this, and I told him, I said, bro, this thing with Charlotte Flair with the NXT thing, I did not see it ending well. The moment she beat Bianca Belair on TV clean, I said that was it.
When
I said,
she
there's
don't
no
go
way.
here.
Yeah, she don't exactly. Especially when Bianca Belair was killing it in the promos that they were having, but they do, and then they do that. I said, nah. I said it's quiet. The NXT women are not gonna get there, and then I know that like people are gonna be saying, why? Is it because it's why? Just because it's just Bianca? I said, yeah, because it's Bianca Belair, because she was a star in the making. She's one of the people that like many people, even outside this company, legends, current talent, they'll tell you. Bianca Belair is a star in the making. She's the person that you want, that if you were building a company, like to be your top female, she is on that list. She's on that list, easily on that list of who you want to book. And then you go in there and have Charlotte Flair beat her clean, and then and then even worse than that, y'all have her put a chair on her leg, getting ready to break it just to make a statement to Rhea Ripley, who, by the way, has terrible timing because she just walked down the ring like nothing, which is funny because she, remember that? She was praising, saying, oh, we're NXT, you know, when you come at all of us, come at one of us, you come at all of us, but yet she gingerly walks to the ring as Bianca Belair is about to get her leg crushed. Like, all right, that's neither here or there. But, yeah, that was the going point to me. I said, nah, it's quiet. Charlotte Flair's not doing anything for this company. And even when she lost the title, it was great to see Io Shirai win it, but you could also make the case of this, why was Charlotte Flair not the one that got pinned?
Why do you not have enough faith in your own NXT women's division to get to that
pin?
point?
Yeah, to pin Charlotte. Exactly.
Let me ask this question right quick. Could we just all agree that the title division just wins this like head and shoulders? Nah.
No.
Oh, okay. I need to hear Big E.
All right, all right. Just for that, I'm gonna stop my thing because I want to hear Big E. Go ahead.
I mean,
Don't pick him out. Let me hear what you have to say.
I agree with you guys as far as WWE. I mean, we shit on WWE a lot because there's a lot of negativity that goes on in WWE.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna shift this to AEW. I think one of their main biggest problems is that they pick up guys off of the hype of who they were in WWE, who they were in the Indies, what they're capable of. And don't get me wrong, these guys can go. Brody Lee, we have seen what he can do in the ring. He's, quote me on this, he was one of the best big men in WWE at the time.
The best big man at the time, I could say.
Hold on,
Very underrated.
Wait a minute.
Very underrated big guy who I think could have, if they would have put the strap on Bray Wyatt when he was part of the Wyatt family, I think he could have took it off of Bray Wyatt. And that would have had fans invested. He talks better than Bray Wyatt on the mic, if not his equal.
Yeah.
Slow your roll now. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
He's there, but he's not there.
No, let's let him rock. Let him rock. Floor is his.
Let him finish. Let him finish.
I have arguments for that. When Brody Lee broke out by himself as a single star in WWE, his promos, and when they let him speak in the Wyatt family, his promos were just as good as Bray Wyatt.
Okay.
Just as good. I don't know if Wyatt wrote it for him, but they were just as good, if not slightly
That'd
better.
be funny.
But then who else came to AEW? You have Lance Archer, who came to AEW. You have now Matt Cardona, a.k.a. Zack Ryder, who we all want to see win in AEW. You have Jon Moxley, who is just the same person in AEW. You have Cody, who is, whether a lot of people want to believe it or not, is the same exact person he was in WWE. Yeah, he left as Stardust.
Don't tell him that, Big E. They don't want to hear that. Don't tell him that.
He left as Stardust in WWE, but he was the same exact person. And I will give Cody this. Cody is another person who is very good at reinventing himself. He's another person that can take a character, reinvent himself, and make shit into sugar. I will give him that. Matt Hardy, when he came over, who was he before he left WWE? He was what, Broken Matt before he left? If I'm not mistaken?
He was Hardy Boys.
Oh, he was Hardy Boys. Okay, he was Hardy Boys. But then when he came into AEW, what was he? He was going through an identity crisis. He was Hardy Boys. Then he was version 1. Then he was Broken Matt. Then he was,
the mask.
I will say that one, devil's advocate for that one, he's been experimenting with this multifarious gimmick where you could switch at a dime.
That's fine. I understand that. But they had nothing for Matt Hardy, which was the point. And he got lost in the shuffle where he was part of the Elite versus the Inner Circle, and he's not even originally part of the Elite. So that's why I'm taking the Botch for AEW, because AEW has this thing where they look at it. It's like being a kid. When you're a kid and you go to Toys R Us, well, rest in peace, Toys R Us. When you went to Toys R Us as a kid, you saw a toy and you were like, holy shit, I got to get this. I got to have it. And then when you took it out the box and you played with it, it's like, oh, that's it. And you're done with it within a few weeks. That's exactly what AEW is doing. They see the hype. They're even trying to recruit Cesaro now. I don't know when Cesaro's contract is out.
Excuse me? Excuse me?
Yes.
Man, gonna have a heart attack.
Rumors of that. There are rumors of that. Cody,
Why?
if
Why?
there's tampering going on, I know there's tampering in the NBA, but if there was tampering going on in professional wrestling, Cody would have been fined so many times for even trying
It
to
was
recruit
Draymond.
Cesaro to go to the
There's no
AEW
name.
roster.
I've never heard a name as black as Draymond Green.
But my point being is this: when these guys cross over into another company where they can get a fresh start, the hype is there. Don't get me wrong. When Brody Lee came and he was revealed as the Exalted One for the Dark Order, there was so much hype behind Brody Lee, and they automatically put him in a title match that he was not, in my opinion, ready for. And then when they put him in there, now what happens? Now you're in a storyline where Colt Cabana might be part of the Dark Order. How do you go from challenging for the AEW championship to now going down to Colt Cabana being in on the roster? Come on. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
Lance Archer's got lost in the shuffle. Matt Cardona, hopefully he doesn't get lost in the shuffle.
Well,
John Moxley's title reign, John Moxley
has gotten lost in the shuffle.
I mean, that goes back. That goes back to
I love
championship control because that goes to
love
AEW.
it.
No, but that's the
No, but true.
to his point. That's his only thing. Like to his point, that's the only thing because everybody else is like, hey,
that's
you could have an
control,
angle.
But the thing is that they only put the strap on John Moxley because there was so much hype behind him and because he did that Jericho podcast. That's the only reason why. Look at it this way. If Moxley never would have done that podcast and Moxley just would have said, you know what, I'm going to quietly exit WWE, they would have never had this whole big thing with the Shield's last run and all of that. If he would have quietly exited WWE and went to AEW, do you think he would be AEW champion to this day? No. The answer is no.
All I know is that Big E right now, this is your 2020 promo of the year. I am loving it. I don't know if you noticed this, but while you were talking, I was doing the Flair walk because I was like, yep, keep talking about this company. I'm here. I'm here for this.
And nobody's
you know what?
a bigger advocate for AEW than me, but this is where their main problem is.
And that is why I think that, you know, as valid as the whole title divisions looming over a lot of things such as a Charlotte and Goldberg, Shayna versus Becky, all that things, I think that like these storylines kind of stand alone on its own, and the one that stands alone the most and is the most prominent outside of WWE is in fact AEW. So definitely, if I had to pick, it would be that as well.
And one more thing, and they
he ain't done.
They ruined Brian Cage and Taz. They ruined that dynamic by adding a third person into their quote unquote stable.
What, Biggie? What have I been saying since?
What have we been saying about this?
No. Since NXT 25, what did I predict was going to happen? Since that day, we were in the car going to Connecticut. What did I say then?
TNA 2.0?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, call that shit.
I've been saying this. I don't want to sound like I'm Negro Diamond. Shout out to Paul Mooney. I predicted this with AEW. It's not that I don't love AEW because I do. I love alternatives. But God, you can't just pick up a toy like Big E said and then just, you know, put it down like that. Come on.
Here's the thing with that. And like, not to come to anyone's defense, not to even play devil's advocate, but here's the thing. If you're a new company, shit like this is bound to happen. It's just a matter of balancing that thing. And the problem is if they're going to toe on the line of being a little conservative with who they hire or a little bit of like, you know, first for whoever comes, you know, just come through. And then you have to navigate through whatever pecking order it may be. Now we're going to get into the King of the Ring sort of deal, right? And like for a guy like Kenny Omega, for example, if Moxley was in the picture, arguably Kenny Omega would be in this. Yeah. So it's
he'd
like
be champ
a lot of the merit, a lot of the like spreading the whole thing of like let's give these new arrivals some love. Like it's kind of petered down on them. But in the same token, I feel like those sort of TNA deals, like not to say that negro, but I think Randy, that was obvious. I'm not even gonna sit there and say like, you should be proud of that.
We had a conversation about that.
It's like,
Look at this guy.
it's like 1 + 2 = 3. So it is what it is.
We had a
Like,
conversation about
But
that.
they could have gone a different direction as well, though. They could have stand
There's
back.
it is
No.
very hard to make that, like, all right, I'll say this much, right? Because we always we have these discussions, right? And we do, and when it comes to AEW, we sit here and we say it as fans, right? We sit there and say it as fans. But if we are in the position that they're in, right? Taking a page out of Carl's book from last week. If I'm a business and I'm just starting out, who the hell am I gonna hire?
Biggest prospect.
Who's the biggest prospect?
You can
Dean
hire-
Ambrose.
And the
you-
thing is,
Jericho.
and the thing is, I'm not trying to excuse them, but I'm just trying to say that the whole notion that it's like, oh, it's obvious. I could, you could. It's hard, but the thing is, it's there. So it's one of those things where it's like it's a justified fault, but it's one of those where it's like you can see both sides. So I'm gonna just leave it at that. We could discuss it another day, but I'll just leave it at that because like we talk until the cows come home. To be honest with you, well, I'll leave it at that. King of the Ring.
Bring it back, WWE.
This is please do, and bring Queen. I mean, we just talked about Queen of the Ring.
Ooh, yeah, if y'all want to do that, I'm cool with that. Bring that.
I said make that happen, and please don't make Charlotte the winner.
We got Drew McIntyre
They will.
Quiet, Big E.
as reigning defending champ. Started out the year running the Royal Rumble. He is now currently the reigning champ. We have Chris Jericho. Started out the year the Bubbly King champion. Now he's basically the everyman of AEW. Keith Lee. I ain't got to say nothing about boy. I ain't got to say nothing about basking in the glory. We got Nick Aldis, who basically at the start of the year, before NWA's lockdown, was doing big things. And and he returns for the third time in this podcast. Who else but Randy Orton?
I thought you were going to say Canyon.
Yeah, I thought he was going to say Drew McIntyre.
I thought I was going to say Christian, to be honest. But
Christian. That's Bob time. Oh, yeah.
That's Bob.
All right.
Booker T? Booker T?
No, we can't talk about him right now.
Why?
We snake it. Oh, our Big E. We could talk about Big E too, because he singles push. But snaking it right back from People's Champ all the way down to Kid Ty. Who do you have as the MVP, aka the King of the Ring? I ain't got it.
He's my namesake. He is a 14-time world champion.
That last one.
Randall Keith Orton. And we're all professional wrestling fans here. If you want to know, if you're a first-time your first-time viewer of professional wrestling, if you want to see the antithesis of a pro wrestler, top to bottom, it's got to be in Randy Orton. He can talk on the mic. He can go in the ring. He can tell you a story. He can be a face. He can be a heel. He can do all those categories, all those check marks, and knock it out of the park when you put the battery in his back. 2020 has been Randy Orton's year. From the night after the Royal Rumble up until this past Monday night, Randy Orton has not missed this entire year. His long-standing feud currently with Edge, and right now his side feud for the WWE Championship with Drew McIntyre. It's only a microcosm of how good he's been this entire year. Every moment, every sinister thing that he's done. And of course, my favorite RKO of the year is how he got Beth Phoenix. Boy, he got her good.
That was a driver. That wasn't an RKO.
My man jumped so high. Man, let's just leave it at that. This is Randy Orton's year.
What?
No, no, too long. Big E, go ahead, man. What's your King of the Ring?
Listen, I'm gonna go with Keith Lee. He's had great matches since January. He was North American champion. Then he's been putting on some great matches. I mean, the Damian Priest and Finn Balor triple threat. You could talk about him and Dominic Dijakovic. They've had great matches. Him and Adam Cole. I mean, the size difference. They put on a great match for the double champ, and he's gonna put on a great match with Karrion Kross eventually. Keith Lee, all the way.
Respect to that, and respect.
And and on top of that, he got the nod as far as going back to 2019, going into November, and in the Royal Rumble. So this is clearly the guy.
That's a fact. Bask in his glory. We got Keith Lee. We got Orton. What you say, Mean Gene?
I'm going with my fellow Judas, man. Going with Randy. Randy Orton. Randy Orton is definitely the king of the ring, okay? This dude has been killing it since January. It was a slow pace. I know, like, Biggie, we mentioned this a little bit earlier in the segment where we talked about how not everybody, Seth Rollins said that, it's hard for people to invest in long-term storylines. But I ain't going to hold you. We invested in this shit right now, ain't we, man? We are loving this. We are loving this because, like Randy said, it started off from jump with the Rumble. I told you I can make a case that Edge is the one who technically started this because he eliminated him from the Rumble. And Randy, you do the tiniest things to this guy, he takes it leaps and bounds. That's the kind of guy that Randy Orton is. So he does that. He does that. He goes on to do the thing with Edge. He then leaves that temporarily because Edge is out. He goes to do the thing with Christian with the unsanctioned match. Still wish they actually had an actual match, but it is what it is. We'll leave it as is. It told a good story for what it was. Then he goes to the Big Show thing, and I'm not gonna hold you. Even when I saw Big Show on TV, I was like, ugh, Big Show? That's who y'all calling back to elevate the Randy Orton thing, Big Show. But then Big Show played his part well to elevate the status of Randy Orton and his heel run. And like I mentioned to you guys earlier, I think one of the best parts of Randy Orton's heel run to me, not just the vicious attacks that he does, the fact that he whispers in his opponent's ears after he's done with them. It's just like, man, a part of me wishes he had done it to Beth Phoenix, Randy. I wish he had whispered in her ear and said, look, this is your fault. This is your fault, okay? You can go to Edge and tell him this is on him too. But no, we're going to leave that alone. But the whispers that he's doing, such good shit. The fact that he's about to go in with Drew McIntyre, and the fact that how they've built this whole feud between them is good. Part of me, even once, Randy Orton has gotten me to the point where I kind of want to see him as champion again. Even though I love Drew McIntyre, I love what he's doing right now, and I know Randy Orton's track record when it comes to being world champion isn't that good because he doesn't have that many good title reigns, honestly, if we're being real honest right here. But Randy Orton, to me, is king of the ring, man. He's been killing it out of the park, and we'll just see how he ends this year. We don't know, but we'll see. I'm here for it.
We got two for Orton. We got one for Keith Lee. Nick Aldis, Chris Jericho. They needing some help, but is Kid Dynamite gonna save them?
They ain't gonna get no help.
Yo ass pick. Damn, that's fast.
What's
your last pick, man?
We got Chris. We got Nick, and I love me some NWA. I feel the power, but I can't pick either of these two men.
Say it.
Nor will I pick either of the two men that have been picked already.
What?
Earlier in the podcast, have been making a case for Randy Orton being the standout talent this year in many different divisions. But for the superstar of the year so far, the king of the ring of the year so far, I'm picking Drew McIntyre.
Oh, thank God.
And I will tell you why. Randy Orton, to everyone's point, even though I made points against and for it, has always had the ability to do this. He's been on ice, but you love to see it, right? Keith Lee, ever since the moment with Roman, and people can make cases even before that, has shown he can be a big player for the company to the point where Brock Lesnar didn't even know he was on the roster and was already impressed off of just looking at him. So a great first impression for Keith Lee. Chris Jericho, a lot of his best stuff, in my opinion, was last year with the initial AEW run. But he's done a great job this year, as has Nick Aldis being a real world champion, especially as the NWA is losing talent by the minute with guys like Ricky Stark, Eddie Kingston, and whatnot. I'm afraid they're going to lose Eli Drake soon. But to make the point, the reason why I picked Drew is because, like many people, I've given Asuka and Orton credit. Another person who's really found themselves this year is Drew McIntyre. For years, we've seen people being touted as future world champions. Drew a whole decade prior, and it seemed like it wasn't possible. And when he came back with Dolph Ziggler, it was an okay idea, but people felt like he was treading water, and he should have been jumped to the championship already, similar to like how he did in NXT. Now, I didn't agree with that completely, but 2020 has been an amazing year for Drew McIntyre. Let's not take away from the fact Drew McIntyre had one of the best reactions of the year after such a lob from Brock Lesnar in the Royal Rumble. Getting Claymored out of the ring, Drew McIntyre became the immediate unanimous favorite to win the Rumble. Off that moment alone, regardless of who you had going into it, the minute you saw Drew, WWE made you believe again, like a little kid, that Drew can do this because he had knocked out the biggest threat in the Rumble.
Who
This
up
man-
until that point was eliminating everyone.
Yes.
So yeah.
Every promo segment he's been in, he's knocked it out of the park. He is wrestling, performing like his life depends on it. In the midst of the pandemic, he has been touted by many legends as being the type of champion the company needs right now. How impressed everyone has been with him as champion, with no fans in the audience, planted fans in the audience. He's taken this to heart because he's been working for this for such a long time. Prior to him becoming champion, finding cues simple as the 3, 2, 1, and hitting his Claymore, getting crowd reactions. He was ready for the crowd this year. The world wasn't, but he was ready, and he's been doing some amazing things, and everyone has a huge amount of respect for Drew McIntyre despite all the circumstances. We've seen comebacks this year. We've seen people come back to prominence they should have had years ago with Asuka and Randy Orton. Drew McIntyre has taken 2 years of sitting on ice and turned it into the run of a lifetime. And if it gets cut short soon, I would feel pretty bad because he's been taking some pretty major steps in the right direction as champion, had some pretty dope high-profile matches with a top star like Seth Rollins, as Eric would love to tell you every day with the shirt. But if he beats Randy Orton, it'll cap off an amazing first half of the year that could go into next year. He's earned it. Yeah. He did it. And I think that he's earned the right to be the King of the Ring.
And
wait, JJ, was Drew McIntyre an option on the King of the Ring thing, or was it because I said it earlier on?
No,
it was an option?
The option.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, hey,
I didn't know he was an option, bro. I didn't hear you say it.
The first one.
Drew, he was the first one. He was the first. For all intents and purposes, hey, yo, man, switch it over because to be honest with you, if there was a tie somewhere, I would pick Drew McIntyre myself. He was the first one that I thought of, to be real with you.
Oh, we can switch? All right, Drew McIntyre. Let's go.
Because I'm being honest. I'm being honest. The cadence of which, like, because we saw it coming. We knew it was there, but he did not have the platform to provide you the things that he could perform. And now that he's been given it, not only the things that we predicted are there, but the little remnants that we didn't even see before are like at the forefront. Like people haven't seen the promos of him back when he was Drew Galloway in TNA kneeling down, and
or the little character moments in matches where he showed like.
Now he's doing it on a platform where it's basically it's heightened up. He's in the the biggest, most well-known wrestling company in the industry, and he's performing at the highest level with the highest champion. So with the company going through a lot of state of flux with COVID and all the title division nonsense and whatever's happening with Raw or SmackDown or NXT, back in AEW, whatever the case may be, he's been the steady hand throughout the year. So he would definitely be my vote.
Yeah.
Mean Gene switched it in a heartbeat.
I do.
Listen,
it goes all the way back to like 10 plus years ago when Vince called him the chosen one.
And you
can't let a nickname like that go.
And you know what? It's much respect because, hey, listen, bro. Listen. If nothing else, Randy Orton got like at least 13 different championships from this episode alone.
That are all I gotta say.
We giving this to Drew.
I will.
For all intents and purposes, he has honestly been the most consistent person, not just on the King of the Ring, just on this entire list alone.
Dude, you gotta love it, man.
Which makes the SummerSlam match even more worth watching, seeing two guys like that.
And
you gotta love it, man. Your top guy as a champion and he's consistent, stud. Can't not love that.
That's a fact.
Can't not love that.
And you know what? We definitely will continue this discussion, especially because I want to get you guys' thoughts on like doing little all elite teams. You know what I mean? Like, so essentially what would be, you guys would pick a person who would be on your like all elite first team, similar to like all NBA or all Pro Bowl. You get the gist. We'll discuss it later on, especially.
Can I pick Christian?
You got no.
Shut your face.
But in any event, I'm gonna let y'all know. On that note, backstage brawlers. We got the Golden Child over here, People's Champ, Diamond Cutter, Mean Gene, Kid Dynamite,